Hi friends, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Brianna and today's video is going to be my first trimester recap. I'm currently 23 weeks pregnant, so once I finish my second trimester I will be doing a recap of that as well. I want to be creating more pregnancy related videos, and also a little background, this is my second pregnancy. I have a 22-month-old baby, well, toddler. So you my bump now. This is my 23-week bump, but let's rewind it. So I found out I was pregnant May 8th, which was Mother's Day. I found out at night, and the reason I took a test was because my husband was like, you haven't had your period in a while, you should take a pregnancy test. And the only other time he told me to do that was when I took a pregnancy test to see if I was pregnant with my firstborn. So I was like, this is weird, I'm probably pregnant. And guess what? I was. He was right. And my period, I think, was only like 5 days late, which wasn't like too much for me because I was breastfeeding still at the time, and I didn't really get my period back after I gave birth to my first child. And then I did get it back, but it was like super irregular, so I wasn't too concerned about it. I would go like a week and a half, sometimes late. And needless to say, our baby decided to come into our life when they wanted to. This was an unplanned pregnancy, but we always wanted more than one child. We actually want 5 in total, so thank you God for that. So we were actually happy about the pregnancy, but we were shocked because we told ourselves that for our second pregnancy we were going to try, like we were gonna like plan it out, but that just didn't happen, and we're not much of planners anyway, so I don't know what we were thinking. So I was getting super duper hot. So usually I was like 4 weeks pregnant at this point. I thought I was 6 weeks pregnant, so did my doctor. However, I was actually earlier on, and that is because my period was irregular at that time, but we were going based off of my son, like my firstborn, and I had a regular period, so they were counting my cycle as every like 28 to 30 days, but this one was like 35 or 40, and I don't know like the math, I forget, but I was like 4 weeks pregnant when I found out. I was still breastfeeding my son, and I was already in the weaning process, and that just pushed me to like really end that breastfeeding journey, because I did not want to be pregnant and breastfeed, because I actually wanted to give my body a whole year to like get back to myself and just feel like my own person without having to like cater a child in that, like to nurture a child in that way. I just wanted all of my hormones to like balance out and stuff like that, but I was not able to do that, which is totally fine. It was just meant to be that way. However, I did finish the breastfeeding journey at the end of May. Now, I don't know, like my milk didn't seem to be any less. My son didn't seem to like prefer to have more milk or less milk, because he was just really drinking milk before naps and bedtime at this point. So we were already like weaning him down, and then we stopped the nap time, and then it was just at night, and then I just cut it out, and then that's it. But that journey did take 3 months to end. I started to start weaning him at 15 months, so it did take me a while. I did go into the doctor when I was about 8 weeks to confirm that I was pregnant. I thought I was 8 weeks. I was like technically 6 weeks at this point again. But I really wanted to get an ultrasound just to make sure, because I don't know why, but the same thing happened with my son. I had like this fear that it could be like possibly in my fallopian tube, so I wanted to make sure the pregnancy was in my uterus, because I literally felt like 100% fine. However, my ACG level was extremely low, and that's how they figured out that I was actually earlier on than they thought I was, because when I first went into the appointment, literally they made me take the little pregnancy test, and it came out negative, but they left it on the counter for like 15 minutes, and then that came out positive after, before she threw it out. So they were like, oh, let's do a blood test to make sure you are actually pregnant and it's just not like a fluke or whatever, because they wanted to give me birth control, which I was not going to take, but they just wanted to make sure before the doctor like continued speaking about it. I knew I was pregnant because I took like 4 pregnancy tests at home, and 3 of them said I was pregnant, and then 1 of them, I guess I put too much urine on it and it didn't work. Stressful, because I got my blood back from the ACG level and it was very low, so I had to go again like a few days later. I think it was like 2 or 3 days later, and then it ended up doubling, so they were happy with that, and then they gave me an ultrasound as well, and I got that ultrasound so early that you could see the yolk sac. You couldn't really see like anything else, but they said it looked like it could be a healthy pregnancy, but they weren't going to be sure until I was about like 9 weeks because it was so early on. So I was so stressed about that, and because it was so different than with my son. With my son, I literally went in, I was like 6 weeks pregnant, and I got an appointment right away. They took me, and you can see a baby. You literally could see the little fetus, and his heart was already beating at that point. You could hear his heart. This time it was nothing like that. I did not see a fetus. I literally just saw like a circle, and they said the fetus was like kind of like next to it, and it was so small that you can't really see it unless you know what you're looking for, and there was no heartbeat at all whatsoever. So I was like super stressed about that, and also given that my ACG level was lower than they would have liked. I started getting symptoms at 7 weeks. At 7 weeks I was nauseous. I had a lot of exhaustion. Granted, I do have a toddler. I had cramping. It really felt like I was getting my period, and that's the same symptoms I had with my son. That's why I didn't know I was pregnant with him until my husband had suggested me take a pregnancy test, because I had cramps and I was like, I'm getting my period like really soon, because that always would happen to me, but that was implantation cramping. This time around they said it was because the baby was just going really rapidly, and since it was my second pregnancy, my uterus was more sensitive to those feelings. I don't know. Severe food aversions and nausea. The nausea had to be like so bad. I did not vomit. I actually wanted to vomit because I thought it would give me some relief, but I can't. Like I can't make myself vomit because I have a phobia of it. And then the food aversions, I was barely eating anything. I think I survived off of bread, to be honest with you guys. I didn't want to eat anything. Like everything sounded so disgusting to me. My stomach was killing me. It was just not a cute situation. I was getting easily bruised, and I had a lot of pressure in my uterus, so that was another thing that kind of like concerned me. I'm like, why am I feeling everything this time? But I just chalked it up to being, hey, it's your second pregnancy. That is like a little bit more common the second time around for some people, so I just try to embrace that. Mind you, you guys, I was planning a wedding. Like our wedding was like very soon, like a month and a half later from us finding out, so I was also like pretty nervous like to get married, be pregnant, because that wasn't really our vision, and I didn't want to like stress out my baby with the final touches of planning. Finally, I got an appointment again when I was 8 weeks, and they saw a heartbeat, and everything was amazing, and I was literally, I had such a sigh of relief, because till that point they did not know if I was gonna have a viable pregnancy or not, so it's giving me a lot of anxiety, but baby decided to have a heartbeat, and I was really stoked about that. At 14 weeks my appetite started to increase a little bit, and this is like kind of leading into the second trimester, but I just wanted to talk about this because it did get a little bit better for me, but I still had food aversions and nausea. It took me about until I was like 18-20 weeks for it to like kind of weed itself out, and I still get it here and there. I definitely still have the food aversion, but it's not as bad. I just don't prefer meat. But yeah, I don't prefer meat still that much. Like I do eat it because it is part of like my normal diet, but even like normally I'm not like a huge meat eater, but I will eat it with some meals just because I feel like I should. But with pregnancy, it just kind of hits me wrong. Like for a while I was getting stomach pains, and I just was like really grossed out by it. I did not like the taste, so I didn't force myself, because I found if I try to force myself to eat things that I was not in the mood for, I would get even more nauseous, and I would get like really bad stomach cramping. So that had me a little nervous. So I just follow what my body likes. But the same thing happens in my first pregnancy, so I think that's just like one of my pregnancy symptoms, and this pregnancy is very similar to my first pregnancy. Everything's just a little bit more heightened, so I hope that doesn't mean like for future ones I'm just gonna get more and more heightened for every symptom, because that's gonna be a lot. Besides, of course, like the baby moving and stuff, I literally love that. And I forgot to mention this, I started feeling the baby move around 12 weeks, which was so crazy to me. And I felt like I was feeling the baby, but I wasn't sure. I didn't know if I was making it up in my head. Once I started feeling the baby even stronger, it was like the same movement, same sensation, but just stronger when they were about 16 weeks gestation. So I knew I was feeling the baby, which I'm super grateful for, because my first pregnancy I barely felt my son the entire time. I was feeling him majority of the time like in the end of my third trimester, like literally about to give birth. So I'm really grateful this time around I get to feel the baby, because it really like grounds me and brings me a lot of joy. Granted, I did not worry with my firstborn because they told me you have an anterior placenta, that's normal, so I didn't stress myself out about it because I really didn't want to put stress on my body, because given what was going on in the world at that time, and also I am a registered nurse, but I was working at the hospital at that time, so I was already under a lot of stress, so I didn't want that to be like something added, you know. I just show you my 20-week bump, but this is not, you know, 20 weeks is the second trimester. So this is my bump, and I just ate so much pasta. I've been loving pasta, carbs. I'm a carb girl, like pregnant or not. Pregnant just amplifies. Basically, I don't have weird cravings either. Pregnancy just amplifies what I already like. So I really like carbs. I'm a carb lover now, and I love fruit. I'm eating fruit all day, every day. Like, I just love fruit. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for your support, and thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to watch my video and support my channel. I hope you do subscribe. This channel has a lot of motherhood content. It has vlogs, just real chats about life. And yeah, I hope you guys join me on this journey, and I really appreciate all of you guys.